Emma had always anchored her life in the certainties of science. As an experienced ICU nurse, she placed her trust in the healing power of medicine and the precision of modern technology. But on an otherwise ordinary night, the extraordinary unfolded before her, a vision of the Virgin Mary that transcended all logic and understanding. Before this story unfolds, take a moment to like this video if you believe in miracles that still happen today. If stories of faith and divine encounters inspire your heart. And don't forget to subscribe so you never miss another powerful true faith story. Emma is the steadfast guardian one hopes for in moments of crisis, calm, collected, and undeniably competent. At 38, with 15 years of dedicated service, she commands respect in the ICU at St. Anne's Hospital, a place where every decision can tip the scales between life and death. Her colleagues admire her unwavering expertise, and her patients find solace in her gentle presence. Yet, beneath her composed exterior lies a soul burdened by profound sorrow, particularly since the passing of her father. He was a man of deep faith, whose departure left Emma grappling with questions that eroded the foundation of her own beliefs. The night shifts at St. Anne's are a symphony of routine for Emma, a comforting cadence of beeps and alerts from the monitors that guide her every move. Her existence revolves around the tangible, the measurable, the empirically sound. Each task is approached with precision, ensuring her patients receive care that is both meticulous and compassionate. Despite her professional triumphs, Emma bears the silent burden of her father's death, a loss so profound it led her to distance herself from the faith that once illuminated her path. Her father's steadfast belief in the divine became a fading echo, overshadowed by the stark realities she confronts daily. As Emma settled into her shift, the familiar hum of the ICU enveloped her, a backdrop to the stream of memories. She recalled days when faith was as natural as breathing, when she would sit beside her father, hands clasped in prayer, hearts open to the possibility of miracles and divine presence. Those days seemed like a distant past, replaced by a reliance on science and an ever-growing skepticism toward the unexplainable. Yet, unbeknownst to her, this night would unravel the threads of certainty, guiding her on an unforeseen journey back to faith and deeper understanding, a journey that would restore the sacred in her life. As Emma settled into her shift, the familiar hum of the ICU enveloped her, a backdrop to the stream of memories. She recalled days when faith was as natural as breathing, when she would sit beside her father, hands clasped in prayer, hearts open to the possibility of miracles and divine presence. Those days seemed like a distant past, replaced by a reliance on science and an ever-growing skepticism toward the unexplainable. Yet, unbeknownst to her, this night would unravel the threads of certainty, guiding her on an unforeseen journey back to faith and deeper understanding, a journey that would restore the sacred in her life. The soft whirring of machines and the rhythmic beeping of heart monitors created a symphony of life in the ICU, a place where time seemed to stretch and contract unpredictably. Tonight, however, there was an unusual stillness in the air, as if the very walls held their breath. Emma moved with practiced efficiency, her thoughts a quiet storm of memories and questions. She checked vitals, adjusted monitors, and offered gentle reassurances to those who hovered on the edge of consciousness. In the midst of this routine, an unexpected fragrance wafted through the sterile air, a delicate scent of roses, rich and vivid, yet impossibly out of place. Emma paused, her senses heightened by the anomaly. The ICU was a realm of antiseptic and medication, a world devoid of such floral sweetness. She glanced around, searching for the source, but found nothing to explain the scent that now enveloped her. A memory from childhood flickered in her mind, her father's voice recounting tales of saints and divine visitations, often accompanied by the scent of roses. Emma shook her head, dismissing the thought as fanciful, yet the fragrance lingered, coaxing her forward. Drawn by an inexplicable pull, she walked down the dimly lit hallway, her footsteps echoing softly. At the far end, where shadows gathered like whispers, a figure appeared, a woman, serene, luminous, her presence both commanding and gentle. Emma's breath caught in her throat as she recognized the vision before her, a depiction of grace and divinity that transcended the boundaries of the ordinary. It was the Virgin Mary, her countenance radiating a compassionate serenity that seemed to reach into the very depths of Emma's soul. The apparition's eyes held a depth of understanding, as if she saw not just Emma's present struggles, but the entirety of her journey, the faith once vibrant, now dimmed by loss and doubt. Emma stood frozen, her mind grappling with the impossibility of the moment. This was a manifestation that defied logic, a vision that challenged every scientific certainty she clung to. Yet, beneath the layers of disbelief, a flicker of something long buried stirred within her, a yearning for the sacred, a desire to believe in the miraculous once more. The Virgin Mary extended a hand, a silent invitation to step beyond the confines of reason. Her voice, when it came, was a gentle whisper that resonated in the depths of Emma's heart. "Emma," she said, her tone a melody of compassion and urgency. "There is one who needs you. David." David. The name resonated with Emma, conjuring the image of a patient whose condition was stable, a man who had endured the silent battle of illness with quiet dignity. Why him? Why now? Questions swirled in her mind, yet the vision's certainty was undeniable. The apparition began to fade, the scent of roses dissipating into the ether, leaving Emma standing in the empty hallway, her heart pounding with an intensity she hadn't felt in years. She hesitated, caught between the safety of her learned skepticism and the profound allure of faith. With renewed resolve, she turned and hurried toward David's room, her steps quickening with each beat of her heart. As she entered, the soft glow of the bedside monitor illuminated his peaceful face, his breathing steady, his vitals unchanged. Everything appeared normal, yet the urgency conveyed by the vision urged her to delve deeper. Emma checked the monitors, her hands moving with a precision honed by years of practice. She reviewed his chart, searching for any subtle indicators she might have missed. Yet, as she examined the data, a nagging feeling persisted, the sense that there was something beyond the empirical, something she couldn't quantify or measure. A soft sigh escaped David's lips, and his eyes fluttered open, meeting hers with a clarity that startled her. His gaze was steady, as if he, too, sensed the shift in the air, the presence of something greater than both of them. "Emma," he murmured, his voice a mere whisper, yet it carried a weight that belied his frail condition. "I had a dream, or perhaps a vision. She was here. The Blessed Mother. She told me not to be afraid." Emma's heart leapt at his words, a testament to the shared experience that transcended the boundaries of logic. The encounter, both theirs and hers, defied explanation, yet it resonated with a truth that couldn't be dismissed. Perhaps, in this space between life and death, the divine reached out with a gentle hand, offering solace and guidance. For a moment, the room was silent, the only sound the soft exhale of the ventilator. Emma felt a warmth unfurl within her, a rekindling of the flame that had once burned brightly in her soul. The vision, the scent of roses, David's whispered words, they were threads of a tapestry woven by unseen hands, a reminder that the sacred lingered even in the most unexpected places. Emma sat beside him, her hand resting gently on his. "You're not alone, David," she said softly, her voice carrying a promise of presence and care. "We'll face this together." In the quiet of the night, beneath the watchful gaze of the Virgin, Emma found herself at a crossroads, a place where faith and reason intertwined, each lending strength to the other. And in that moment she understood that her journey back to faith was not a rejection of science, but a deepening of understanding, a recognition that life, in all its complexity, was a tapestry of both seen and unseen. As she sat with David, the air still carrying a hint of roses, Emma felt a sense of peace settle over her, a peace that came from embracing the mystery, from allowing the sacred to unfold in its own time. The night stretched on, yet within its quietude lay the promise of a new dawn, a beginning that whispered of hope and renewal. And so, with her heart open to the possibility of miracles, Emma found herself stepping into the unknown, guided by the light of faith and the promise of divine presence. Emma awoke with a start, the tranquility of the previous night shattered by an overwhelming sense of urgency. Her heart raced, and although she couldn't pinpoint the source of her anxiety, she felt an inexplicable compulsion to check on David. The hospital corridors stretched ahead, dimly lit and quiet, the usual bustle of the day replaced by an almost sacred stillness. As she walked, the soft echoes of her footsteps seemed to harmonize with the quiet murmurings of her prayers, each step a plea for guidance and protection. Reaching David's room, Emma paused momentarily, her hand resting on the door handle. A gentle nudge, almost like a whisper in her soul, urged her forward. She entered the room, her eyes immediately drawn to the monitors that surrounded David's bed. Everything appeared normal, yet her intuition and inner voice she had come to recognize as both a gift and a mystery told her otherwise. She approached David's bedside, her eyes scanning his face for any sign of distress. The subtle rise and fall of his chest seemed steady, but there was something off, an almost imperceptible change in his complexion, a slight pallor that hadn't been there before. Emma leaned closer, her medical training kicking in. She checked his pulse, noting an irregularity that sent a chill down her spine. "David," she whispered softly, willing him to respond. But his eyes remained closed, his breathing shallow. The monitors continued their rhythmic beeping, oblivious to the silent alarm ringing within Emma's heart. Without hesitation, Emma pressed the call button, her hands moving deftly as she adjusted David's oxygen mask. Her mind ran through the possibilities: an allergic reaction, a sudden complication, yet she couldn't shake the feeling that it was something more, something beyond the realm of medical explanation. Moments later, Dr. Martinez and a team of nurses rushed into the room. Emma quickly relayed her observations, her voice steady despite the adrenaline coursing through her veins. Together, they worked to stabilize David, the room a flurry of activity, as they administered medication and adjusted his treatment. Dr. Martinez glanced at Emma, a mixture of admiration and curiosity in his eyes. "You did well, Emma," he said, his voice filled with genuine respect. "Your quick thinking made all the difference." Emma nodded, her heart swelling with a complex mix of relief and bewilderment. As the team continued their work, she stepped back, her gaze lingering on David. In that moment, she felt a profound connection to something greater than herself, a sense that her actions had been guided by a force beyond her understanding. As the crisis subsided, the room gradually returned to its previous calm. Dr. Martinez approached Emma, his expression thoughtful. "What made you come to check on him?" he asked, his tone gentle, yet probing. Emma hesitated, unsure how to articulate the instinct that had driven her. "I don't know," she admitted finally. "I just felt that I needed to be here." Dr. Martinez nodded, a knowing smile playing on his lips. "Sometimes, our instincts lead us where we need to be, even when we don't fully understand why." Emma pondered his words, her mind a whirl of questions. How could she reconcile this intuition with her scientific training? Was it merely a coincidence, or was there something more at play, a divine intervention, a whisper of the sacred in the midst of the ordinary? As she stood in the hushed quiet of David's room, Emma felt a shift within her, a deepening of her faith, a renewed recognition of the mystery and wonder of life. She realized that her journey was not about choosing between science and faith, but embracing both as integral parts of a larger truth. The miracle lay not just in the extraordinary, but in the everyday moments of grace and connection. Leaving the room, Emma felt a sense of peace, her heart buoyed by the knowledge that she was exactly where she needed to be. The experience had challenged her understanding, yet it had also affirmed the presence of something divine, a guiding light that illuminated her path. As she walked back through the now familiar corridors of the hospital, Emma reflected on the delicate balance of her life. Her faith and her work were not opposing forces but complementary threads in the tapestry of her existence. She had been given a gift, the ability to listen, to act, to be present in the moments that mattered most. Emma knew that this was only the beginning of her journey, a journey that would continue to test and transform her. But she faced the future with a heart open to the possibilities, trusting in the wisdom of the unseen and the promise of the divine. With each step, she carried the light of faith, a beacon guiding her through the uncertainties of life. And as she moved forward, Emma embraced the sacred mystery, allowing it to unfold in its own time, confident in the knowledge that she was never truly alone. The dawn was breaking as Emma stepped outside, the first rays of sunlight casting a golden glow over the world. It was a new day, filled with hope and renewal, a testament to the resilience of the human spirit and the boundless grace of the divine. And with her heart full of gratitude, Emma welcomed the day, ready to embrace whatever miracles it might bring. As the golden light of dawn faded into the crisp clarity of morning, Emma found herself once again at the hospital, her sanctuary of reason and science. Yet today felt different. The corridors, which usually hummed with a comforting predictability, now seemed charged with an unseen energy, a reminder of the mysterious events that had unfolded days earlier. Emma's mind kept returning to the moment when she had found herself inexplicably drawn to David's hospital room, her instincts insisting she act, even when logic faltered. The memory of his wife's tearful gratitude lingered, as did the image of her handing Emma a rosary, its beads cool and smooth against her palm. It was a gesture of faith, an anchor in the storm of emotions that had followed. Emma had never been one to readily embrace the unexplainable. Her father's sudden passing years before had taught her the harsh reality of life's unpredictability, steering her toward the concrete world of medicine where answers were sought and found. Yet now, the line between the seen and unseen seemed blurred, leaving her questioning where her convictions truly lay. As she stepped into the break room for a moment of solitude, Emma pulled the rosary from her pocket. The beads clicked softly as she ran her fingers over them, each one a silent testament to prayers spoken and hopes fostered. She remembered David's wife's words, spoken with unshakable belief. "You were sent to us. I prayed for a miracle, and God sent you." A part of Emma wanted to dismiss it as coincidence, yet another part, the part that had once knelt beside her father in church, lighting candles in the dim glow of stained glass, hesitated. Could there be more to the universe than she had allowed herself to see? Was it possible that science and faith were not adversaries but allies, each illuminating different facets of truth? Seeking solace, Emma called her mentor, Dr. Jameson, a man of both deep scientific insight and personal faith. He listened patiently as she recounted the events and her ensuing turmoil. "Emma," he said gently, "faith and science are two wings of a bird. Alone, each can only do so much. But together they can lift us to new heights of understanding." His words resonated with her, and she spent the afternoon reflecting on them, wandering the hospital grounds in search of clarity. As she walked, the sun cast long shadows across the path, and Emma found herself drawn to the hospital chapel, a place she visited only rarely. Inside, the chapel was quiet, a sanctuary from the bustling world outside. Stained glass windows bathed the room in a kaleidoscope of colors, and the faint scent of incense lingered in the air. Emma slid into a pew, the rosary still clutched in her hand, and closed her eyes. In the stillness, she allowed herself to remember. She remembered her father's unwavering faith, the peace it had brought him even in the face of death. She remembered the stories of saints and miracles, tales that had once seemed distant and improbable. And she remembered her own childhood prayers, whispered with innocent trust. The weight of these memories mingled with the present, and Emma felt her heart stir with a longing she could not quite name. It was as if a door long shut was beginning to open, revealing glimpses of a world where miracles were not relics of the past, but living realities. Suddenly, the silence was broken by the gentle creak of the chapel door. Emma opened her eyes to see Sister Agnes, the hospital chaplain, entering. The older woman smiled warmly, her eyes twinkling with wisdom and kindness. "Emma, it's good to see you here," Sister Agnes said, taking a seat beside her. "What brings you to our little haven?" Emma hesitated, unsure how to articulate the storm within her. "I'm searching, I suppose," she finally admitted. "Trying to understand things that don't quite fit into my usual way of seeing the world." Sister Agnes nodded, her expression thoughtful. "Faith is a journey, not a destination. It's okay to have questions, to wrestle with doubt. In fact, it's often in those moments that we grow the most." Emma considered this, her gaze drifting to the crucifix at the front of the chapel. "Do you believe in miracles, sister?" The nun's smile deepened. "I do. But I also believe that miracles come in many forms, not always with fanfare or spectacle. Sometimes the miracle is in the quiet strength to carry on, in the love that sustains us, or in the grace to find peace amid chaos." Her words echoed in Emma's heart, resonating with the truth she had been seeking. Perhaps a miracle had indeed occurred the day she saved David's life, not just in the act itself but in the way it had opened her eyes to the mysteries of faith and the divine. As Emma rose to leave, A feeling of lightness replaced the heaviness she had been carrying. She still had questions, and her journey of understanding was far from over, but for the first time in a long while, she felt a sense of peace. Walking back into the sunlight, Emma realized that she was ready to embrace the possibility of miracles in all their forms. She would continue to seek answers through her work, guided by the principles of science, but she would also leave room for the wonder of the unseen, the whispers of grace that defied explanation. With renewed purpose, Emma returned to her duties, her heart open to the day's miracles, however they might present themselves. And as she moved through the hospital, she carried with her the light of faith, a gentle reminder that she was never truly alone, for in the dance of faith and science, she had found a new way to see the world. As the day drew to a close, Emma knew that her journey was just beginning, a journey that would continue to test and transform her, but she faced the future with hope, trusting in the wisdom of the unseen and the promise of the divine. Emma stood at the threshold of the hospital chapel, a small, unassuming room tucked away from the bustling corridors of the medical center. It was a place she had often bypassed, considering it a sanctuary for those who needed solace beyond the reach of medicine. Today, however, it called to her with a quiet insistence, a whisper of invitation that resonated with the newfound openness in her heart. She hesitated for a moment, feeling the weight of both expectation and hope, before stepping inside. The chapel was dimly lit, with flickering candles casting gentle shadows that danced across the walls. The scent of incense lingered in the air, a comforting aroma that wrapped around her like a warm embrace. Emma found a seat in one of the pews, her eyes drawn to the simple altar adorned with a single crucifix. She took a deep breath, allowing the silence to envelop her, and closed her eyes. The vision she had experienced just days ago lingered vividly in her mind, a moment where science and faith had intertwined, revealing a tapestry of possibilities she had never considered. It had been a turning point, one that had opened her heart to the mysteries she could not explain. Now, as she sat in the quietude of the chapel, Emma felt a profound sense of peace, as though she had finally come home. Her thoughts drifted to the patients she had encountered since that pivotal day. There was Mrs. Rodriguez, a spirited elderly woman with a heart condition, who spoke of her grandchildren with such joy that Emma couldn't help but smile. And young Thomas, a brave 8-year-old battling leukemia, whose laughter was infectious even in the face of adversity. Emma found herself more attuned to their stories, their fears and hopes, and she realized that in listening to them, she was learning a new language of empathy. Emma's interactions with her patients had shifted in subtle, yet significant ways. She was no longer just a physician administering treatments and issuing diagnoses. She had become a confidant, a source of comfort in the sterile environment of the hospital. Her colleagues noticed the change, sensing the tranquility that now accompanied her presence. Dr. Michaels, her mentor, had remarked on it during a brief conversation in the break room. "Emma, there's a lightness about you these days," he had observed, a hint of curiosity in his voice. "It's as if you've found something, or maybe someone." Emma had smiled, a soft, enigmatic smile that spoke of the journey she was on. "I think I'm beginning to see things differently, Dr. Michaels. It's hard to explain, but it feels like I'm finally finding balance." Dr. Michaels had nodded, his eyes twinkling with understanding. "Ah, balance. It's a beautiful thing, isn't it? Keep following that path, Emma. You never know where it might lead." His words had stayed with her, echoing in her mind as she navigated the delicate dance between science and faith. Emma had come to realize that the two were not mutually exclusive. Rather, they complemented each other in ways she had never imagined. Each patient she treated, each life she touched, became a testament to the harmony she was striving to achieve. Encouraged by the peace she felt, Emma decided to return to church, seeking the community and understanding she had once shied away from. It was a tentative step, one that required courage and vulnerability, but Emma knew it was necessary for her continued growth. She chose a small parish near her apartment, a modest stone building with stained glass windows that glimmered in the afternoon sun. On her first Sunday back, Emma entered the church with a sense of anticipation. The pews were filled with families, elderly couples, and individuals seeking solace in the sacred space. The sound of the choir singing hymns filled the air, a harmonious blend of voices that lifted her spirit. Emma found a seat near the back, feeling both a part of the congregation and apart from it, as she reacquainted herself with the rituals she had long forgotten. The priest, a gentle man with kind eyes and a welcoming smile, spoke of love and redemption, of the journey each soul undertakes in search of truth. His words resonated deeply with Emma, echoing her own path towards reconciliation. As the service drew to a close, Emma felt a sense of belonging she hadn't expected, a connection to something greater than herself. After the service, she lingered, watching as people greeted one another with warmth and familiarity. An elderly woman approached her, introducing herself as Margaret. Her eyes were bright with curiosity and kindness. "Hello, dear. I don't believe I've seen you here before," Margaret said, extending her hand in greeting. Emma shook her hand, grateful for the friendly gesture. "No, this is my first time here. I'm Emma. Welcome, Emma. We're glad to have you with us. If you ever have any questions or just need someone to talk to, don't hesitate to reach out," Margaret offered with a reassuring smile. "Thank you, Margaret. I appreciate that," Emma replied, her heart swelling with gratitude. As Emma left the church that day, she felt a sense of renewal. She was beginning to see faith not as an opposing force to her profession, but as a guiding light that illuminated her path. It was a journey of reconciliation, a gradual acceptance that allowed her to embrace the fullness of her identity both as a scientist and a believer. The weeks that followed were marked by continued growth and transformation. Emma found herself more attuned to the whispers of hope and grace that surrounded her, both in the hospital and in her personal life. She began attending church regularly, participating in community events and engaging in conversations that deepened her understanding of faith. One evening, as she sat with Mrs. Rodriguez during a particularly difficult moment, Emma held the elderly woman's hand, offering comfort with her presence. Mrs. Rodriguez looked up at her, eyes filled with gratitude. "Emma, my dear, you've been such a blessing to me," Mrs. Rodriguez said softly. "I don't know how I would have gotten through this without you." Emma smiled, her heart full. "You've taught me just as much, if not more. It's an honor to be here with you." In the quiet moments, when Emma reflected on her journey, she marveled at the changes within her. She had discovered a new way to see the world, one that embraced both the certainty of science and the mystery of faith. It was a delicate balance, but one that filled her with hope and purpose. As the chapter of her life unfolded, Emma knew she was not alone. She carried with her the light of faith, a beacon that guided her through the complexities of her work and the challenges of the human experience. And as she continued on her path to reconciliation, she trusted in the wisdom of the unseen and the promise of the divine, knowing that her journey was far from over. As the crisp morning light filtered through the hospital window, Emma stood quietly, her gaze fixed on the delicate beads of the rosary that lay in her hand. Each bead felt cool and smooth, a tangible reminder of the connection she had rekindled with her faith, a faith that had once seemed distant and abstract, now vibrant and alive within her. Emma's transformation had been subtle yet profound. In the quiet corridors of the hospital, and the hushed solemnity of the chapel, she had learned to weave the threads of science and faith into a tapestry of understanding. It was a journey that had brought her to this moment, standing on the precipice of a new beginning, where she embraced her calling as both a healer of the body and a nurturer of the spirit. Her day began like any other, with the gentle hum of medical equipment and the soft murmur of nurses exchanging updates. Yet there was a new lightness in her step, a quiet joy that seemed to emanate from her very being. Emma had come to realize that the true miracles in her life were not always grandiose acts but could be found in the small, everyday moments of grace and connection. As she moved through the ward, Emma paused to check on Mr. Thompson, an elderly patient whose health had been precarious. She had spent many hours by his bedside, listening to his stories and sharing quiet prayers. Today, as she entered his room, she found him sitting up, his eyes twinkling with a vitality that had been absent for so long. "Good morning, Mr. Thompson," Emma greeted him with a warm smile. "Morning, Dr. Emma," he replied, his voice stronger than it had been in weeks. "You know, I think those prayers of yours are working. Emma chuckled softly, her heart swelling with gratitude. Perhaps it's a combination of medicine and a little divine intervention, she said, gently squeezing his hand. As she continued her rounds, Emma encountered Mrs. Alvarez, a young mother whose son had been in Emma's care following a serious accident. The boy's recovery had been slow, fraught with setbacks and uncertainty. Yet, through it all, Emma had been a steady presence, offering both medical expertise and spiritual support. "Dr. Emma," Mrs. Alvarez called out as Emma approached, her voice filled with emotion. "I don't know how to thank you for everything you've done for us." Emma paused, her eyes meeting those of the grateful mother. "You don't have to thank me," she said softly. "Your son's resilience is a miracle in itself. I'm just here to help him along the way." In these moments, Emma found herself reflecting on the true nature of miracles. They were not always the dramatic occurrences depicted in stories and films. Sometimes, they were the simple acts of kindness, the quiet moments of empathy and understanding that transformed lives in ways unseen. Emma had come to see each patient's journey as a testament to the miraculous, a testament to the divine presence that wove through the tapestry of human experience. After her rounds, Emma took a moment to visit the hospital chapel. The quiet space had become a sanctuary for her, a place where she could pause, reflect, and offer her prayers. Kneeling before the altar, she closed her eyes, the familiar rhythm of the rosary bringing her a sense of peace. "Lord," she whispered, "thank you for guiding me, for opening my heart to the miraculous in everyday life." In that sacred silence, Emma felt a warmth envelop her, as if she were being held by an unseen presence. It was a reminder that she was never alone, that the divine was always with her, guiding her steps and illuminating her path. With renewed purpose, Emma returned to her work, her interactions with patients imbued with a sense of compassion and understanding that transcended the confines of her medical training. She had embraced her role as a healer in its fullest sense, tending not only to physical ailments, but also to the emotional and spiritual needs of those in her care. As the day drew to a close, Emma found herself reflecting on the journey that had brought her to this point. It was a journey of discovery and reconciliation, of learning to see the world through the lens of both science and faith. And in that delicate balance she had found her purpose, a purpose that filled her with a deep sense of peace and fulfillment. Emma knew that her journey was far from over. There would be challenges and uncertainties ahead, moments of doubt and struggle. But she faced them with an open heart, trusting in the wisdom of the unseen and the promise of the divine. As she stepped out into the evening light, Emma felt a gentle breeze brush against her face, a reminder of the ever-present grace that surrounded her. With each step, she carried with her the light of faith, a beacon of hope and love that guided her through the complexities of her work and the challenges of the human experience. And in that moment she knew, with a certainty that transcended all understanding, that she was exactly where she was meant to be, a vessel of healing, a bearer of the miraculous, and a witness to the enduring power of faith and love. If Emma's journey touched your heart, share this story with someone who needs hope today. Let us know in the comments if you believe faith and miracles still walk among us. And remember to subscribe and turn on notifications. More true stories of divine moments are coming.